Well, hello again, race fans, and welcome to another round, another chapter, part of the saga ongoing here in Season 13 for the US IndyCar League. It's race number 3 of 12 for Season 13 here, and we are getting going in the Bluegrass State. It's the Kentucky 190 presented by StickQuik right here in virtual Sparta, Kentucky, USA. You can see here from our blimp shot, the StickQuik cam overhead, the sold-out crowd here, as always, for the US IndyCar League as we get going. We got this place lit up like a Christmas tree. Happy holidays to all of you out there as we get set for another awesome day of action. Hopefully it'll be another clean one. We saw a completely green flag race last time out, and we are getting very used to seeing that here in the US IndyCar League. A very clean racing league, and we get a chance to see the drivers really at the top end of their skills. And so we head down track side. Let's go ahead and get the timing and scoring tower up there for you so that you can follow along with qualifying efforts. Out there on screen at the moment is none other than Mr. StickQuik, Richard Kelbaugh, heading around to get his lap in. You can see David Zaleski already on provisional pole, 24.42 his qualifying lap speed. Jason Lowe already into second. We watch Richard Kelbaugh complete his lap. Good enough for third at the moment, and that is awesome news for Mr. StickQuik. But we cut over and take a look at the man of the moment, and he's been that way for several seasons now. It's Graham Bunyan. He won last race, and he's now actually taking the pole position here, 24.39. Jason Lowe rebounding and getting a second place qualifying effort here after some struggles. Dan Ensch completing his effort to get towards the top of this starting order. Not quite fast enough, but you can see how close those qualifying times are right there at the bottom. Excuse me, on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see just 0.2 of a second separating first through ninth. And we actually have multiple drivers not yet deciding to qualify, including David Strid, who is just headed out there now. And for those of you that recognize that name, David Strid, he has been one of the absolute up-and-comers in the US IndyCar League the past couple of seasons, coming up and getting some race wins, many podiums, and just looking for that type of consistency that Graham Bunyan has been able to have, getting into victory lane and taking a couple of championships. Will it be David Strid's name on the US IndyCar League trophy at the end of the season? That's a good question, but in order to race, first you must qualify, and Strid would love to be able to be up there next to his countryman and unofficial teammate Graham Bunyan. So we'll see whether he can take that position. Not quite fast enough. Only fourth quickest here today for qualifying. Not that blazing speed that we're used to seeing out of Strid, but I say that he's only 6/100ths of a second off of that top time. So just letting you see how tight this field is, and should be in for a good one here today. So, of course, I'm Trevor Greenfield, and I will be with you through all of today's action, as I have been for the last couple of seasons here with VirtualRacing.Network. So glad to continue this coverage here through Season 13, bringing you ultra high definition 4K coverage of great qualifying laps and, of course, fantastic racing. Hope you're enjoying it out there. Give us a shout over on YouTube if you are. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. Getting told I need to be a little bit higher on my voice by none other than Mr. Jesper Orman, who decided to stop in and say hello. Good to see you over there. Thanks, bud. Can't be in 4 places at once, can only be in 2, so can't hear myself talking while I'm talking, but I appreciate the heads up. So we'll get those official results for you up on the screen. And there you go. It is, in fact, Graham Bunyan on your pole position for today's race. And that's how close it is. 1/1000th of a second separating him from Jason Lowe. So, as I mentioned, super tight field here. But David Zaleski also poking his nose up there. So, your last two champions of the last 3 seasons taking up the first 2 starting spots. But David Zaleski, definitely a contender every week, and he'll be starting 3rd alongside David Strid. Richard Kelbaugh getting in a fantastic qualifying result. He raced well last week. He's coming up in the points, and it is an exciting thing to see a driver coming up. So keep an eye on that green machine. It's not it's not easy to miss that one. That's for sure. It stands out. Howard Livingston there in 6th place, and he'll look to continue his points run in this championship. We'll get to that in just a second. Iñigo Mardones, another fantastic racer. He's qualified mid-pack, but look for him to poke his nose up to the front a little bit later on. Ryan Bowles, he's another driver who knows how to win, taking a victory here at US IndyCar League. Dan Ensch, another driver who's looking to get up there in that victory circle. Will he do it today? That is a good question. We wait to find that out. But he's definitely due. He's ready for that podium, but he's more certainly ready for time to poke his nose into victory lane. Manuel Gomez Esteban and Will Stearns. Then Mike West and newcomer Mauro Ramirez. Wasn't aware he was going to be joining us until today, so it's great to have a new driver out there with us. Fantastic to see him and new competitors showing up here to the US IndyCar League. If you'd like to get started as a driver here in the US IndyCar League and you have a little bit of IndyCar experience, just a little bit at least, head on over and you can see the link down in the description to click over to iRacing, and you'll get into the league function, be able to say hello to Jason Lowe. In the meantime, see if we can get the points up on the screen real quick. And you can see it's Graham Bunyan. He took the win last week, and, well, he continues his winning ways. Howard Livingston, a pretty solid 2nd place in the championship. David Strid moving up a place, and Jason Lowe dropping down a place. Big climber Richard Kelbaugh now up into 6th place in the championship. Will he make a run at the championship this season? That is a good question that we look forward to finding out the answer to, as he's one of the regulars that has been doing this for quite a while, hanging out and racing with the US IndyCar League and its vets. So here we go. We get ready for another awesome day of action. Graham Bunyan leads us. Jason Lowe drops in right behind, and we are green here in Kentucky. We've got Zaleski and Strid just behind, fighting it out for that 3rd position. Strid not able to overtake on that start. Howard Livingston able to climb up a spot on Ryan Bowles and Richard Kelbaugh. Richard Kelbaugh dropping back a couple of spots on that start. Here comes Ryan Bowles to the inside of Howard Livingston. We can see they're mixing it up just in front as well, as Strid has now overtaken Zaleski, and Strid now trying to make his move towards the front. So Strid in the red and silver car, red, silver, black, and with gold wheels. New look for Strid this season. And up in front it is, of course, none other than Graham Bunyan, who leads us through 3 laps. But he's got Jason Lowe all over his tail. He dives to the inside, Jason Lowe does, trying to work that inside line. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like from on board that machine of Jason Lowe's. The 004, trying the inside, trying the outside. Not quite able to get it done there. Looking back, there goes David Strid to the inside. Has he got the position? I don't think so. Strid still side by side. He moves to the inside. Does he get it? Yes, he does. He moves forward on the start-finish straight. So Strid now up behind his countryman, Graham Bunyan. And they are now 1-2. Strid up 2 positions already today. So we continue here on lap number 6, and it is still hot and heavy in the mid part of this field, trying to figure out who will take advantage. In the meantime, Mr. StickQuik, Richard Kelbaugh, unfortunately dropping back several positions, but perhaps trying to get into that magic fuel window. Now, fortunately, Dan Ensch letting us know the fuel window will be opening up around lap 34. So we look for drivers to be coming in around lap 34 to 37 here. We go on board with Mr. StickQuik as he tries to continue to pick up on that draft up in front. But back up in front, it is still Graham Bunyan who leads us. No problems there. David Strid in second and Jason Lowe in third. Ryan Bowles in fourth. Ryan has claimed 4 positions so far. Looking pretty excellent out there today. And we'll see whether he has his winning ways set. As I mentioned, this is the last race that we'll get in before Christmas happens. So if that's the holiday you celebrate, Merry Christmas to you out there. And I'm sure Ryan would like to celebrate an early Christmas present by being able to take that victory. But I'll tell you what, Lowe is not done working on David Strid. He hasn't given up at all. And these drivers are still kind of mixing it up at the front. So we'll see as the drivers all taking sort of different lines through turn 1 and 2. I know that part of the strategy was, as we see Ryan Bowles now starting to work on the low side of Jason Lowe. So Bowles now trying to take that 5th position so far today, and he does. So Lowe hanging out on the outside, but he does get the run off of the corner, able to reclaim the position from Bowles. Lowe trying to hang on that high side and see if he can get the run off of the corner, and he does yet again. So that high side starting to work for Jason Lowe. Oftentimes wonder with Jason Lowe and his ample years of racing experience, so many times he tried to use that high side on those dirt tracks. He tried to keep it ahead of his competition, but that's the way it goes. You find the inside, the outside, whatever's going to work for you today with the car. Now, early on, we did find out also that these drivers operating with -10 weight jacker to begin, and will be going up on that weight jacker as the race goes on. As Lowe actually going really high to the high side, but again, now he's getting a heck of a run on Strid. Perhaps all to plan, perhaps it's luck finding the right line, but Lowe now working again on David Strid, trying to take that 2nd position. You can see all these drivers still within contention, under 2 seconds separating 1st from 8th as we're now side by side. Lowe on the outside, and David Strid defending the inside. Strid retakes the position, but for how long? Back on board the 004. See behind, battle starting to heat up there as well, as Bowles and David Zaleski kind of battling it out here for 4th place now. Zaleski dropping back just 1 place from where he started. So we await to see who will win this battle in the middle of the field. And right now, it looks like David Zaleski able to hold the low side a little bit better than Ryan Bowles. And just behind, we see another battle starting to really form up. This is Howard Livingston. He's your second in the points, fighting with Iñigo Mardones. Now, this is where these two qualified, so they haven't moved up or moved back, but nevertheless, you got to wonder, a guy who's second in the points, he's been getting podium positions. There's another driver to circle as somebody who's due for a win here this season. Hasn't snagged one yet, but possibly will. Actually, either one of these drivers. I mean, honestly, Iñigo Mardones has been up at the front of these races for the US IndyCar League multiple times, and just haven't seen him in victory lane yet. But I'm sure that is coming. That will happen at some point in the near future. So we go back to the lead, and it's Jason Lowe who's gotten back in front of David Strid. Easy for me to say. We're now working lap 20, so about halfway through this first stint. And of course, Graham Bunyan up at the front, and no problems thus far. Keeping a great hold on the front end of this race. And actually now with Strid and Lowe just behind, battling a little bit, he's managed to open up about a 9/10 of a second lead to Jason Lowe. So perhaps that is what Lowe's urgency is all about. He does not want to see this draft get broken, and he doesn't want to slip too far back from Graham Bunyan. He knows if this race goes green, he's got to stay in contention to be able to potentially win this one. Got to stay up there in close proximity to Graham if he's going to try to take a chance to win this one, because Graham is certainly an expert on some pit strategy as well, sometimes having some pretty darn good IndyCar people in his ear feeding him information. Not every week, but sometimes he does get that extra bit of help. And so Jason Lowe knows he needs to pull out all the stops trying to keep up with champion Graham Bunyan. And for those of you that of course have been following the story of Jason Lowe, he was three-time defending champion coming into last season, sorry, 2 seasons ago, following season 10, going into season 11, and Graham Bunyan decided he was going to put on a push. He took the season 11 championship. He then followed it up with the season 12 championship. But Jason Lowe has not really fallen back in terms of his competitiveness each week. It's more just been small mistakes and little unlucky moments that have caught him out and kept him from being up there in race winning contention. But every week, it seems like we're playing the same show. It's Jason Lowe sitting in second place with a chance at a victory. Certainly looking competitive enough to be in contention for a podium position, and it's just something about consistency. If Lowe can manage to get those top finishes, he'll be right up there in the points and looking at a potential championship as well. But one thing that none of these drivers have really had an answer for, and that is the Australian steamroller Graham Bunyan, who just seems to get it figured out better than anyone else every week. It doesn't, even if he's having an unlucky week, he'll rebound the next week and seemingly be in podium or possibly victory lane. And even his unlucky standards, he might start from the pits and end up winning the race. It's his unluckiness sometimes turns out to be what other drivers would consider a lucky finish. But nevertheless, I guess when you're really, really good at what you do, that's the type of position you put yourself in. Just put yourself in the best position, and usually it'll work out in your favor. But we're on board with Graham's 101 machine. Speaking of different liveries, a bit of a different look this season. We do thank Graham for coming up with a new livery this season. Feel bad that we had to ask anybody to do it at all, but it's better than everybody having to submit their skins and we have to keep track of it. And, you know, it's just much easier to deal with the paint jobs that way. But that is a beautiful paint job. You see a little bit of extra reflection there going on with the engine cowling. So very, very cool stuff. And by the way, if you're a sponsor sitting out there in the wings and you want to get some of this awesome screen time here in ultra high definition 4K, you'd be right on that side pod or nose, I imagine. And what a cool thing to do. Graham Bunyan, a great champion and very well spoken, good representative for the US IndyCar League. And speaking of which, here's another guy who's got just oodles of talent, but also a lot of great racing experience in real life, and now the administrator and just great competitor and contributor to the US IndyCar League and all the efforts that they're trying to do. Jason Lowe, always a competitor every week, looking for a win. But as I mentioned, if you're a sponsor out there, you want to get involved with any of these drivers, I'm sure it won't cost that much, but you could be right here on the side pod every Sunday and looking at a potential race win and a chance to celebrate with these guys and ladies whenever they do decide to show up as well, of course, everyone else. But also the US IndyCar League, also open to more sponsorship as well. And some of these races, it is available for you to be able to purchase the title sponsorship of the races as well. Just thought I'd get that in while we were waiting for these pit stops. And here you can see Graham Bunyan on pit lane. So our first of the takers, but right behind you got David Zaleski. And also following him in, Will Stearns. And Stearns also showing well here in the series as of late, racing very well. He's just another one of those drivers. In fact, he was just talking about it the other day as we see Iñigo Mardones taking over the race lead with Howard Livingston and Richard Kelbaugh behind. Those drivers doing a little bit of fuel saving, able to stretch this tank just a little bit. But Will Stearns letting us know that he got his 75th win in iRacing just the other day in the Oval Fix Series, and always difficult to pull off those wins, especially amongst really good competitors in the Fix Series, in those other official series. But here's the other driver we were highlighting earlier, Dan Ensch. One of the reasons why we do each and every race is because he's got all the strategies figured out, but one of them that just hasn't been paying out has been the ultra conservative fuel, or I guess I should say the ultra fuel conserve strategy. And maybe it will. Maybe it will. Maybe today is the day to do it. But Dan is last one on track as Iñigo now comes into the pits. So the last car to potentially take his pit stop. Here we go on this lap. So Dan able to stretch all the way to the end of that window, lap 37, and just completing lap 37, heading on to 38. So Graham Bunyan will now need to make his way completely around. And why don't we go ahead and get the track map up there so you can follow it. It's got their initials in it so you can see. And we do appreciate everybody out there watching us live here on YouTube, watching the YouTube channel for VirtualRacing.Network. As always, make sure please to subscribe if you're not already. It's always so surprising when I look back at the analytics. As you can see, Graham Bunyan and Jason Lowe back together again and fighting it out for first place. Lowe actually picking up a bit of time on that round of pit stops. So again, Lowe sharpening his pencil this week and tightening up some of those areas. But I know this is that's one of those things that Graham has talked about in the past, actually, about those in-laps, out-laps, getting into the pits, out of the pits, all crucial things to either growing that lead or being able to undercut your competition. And so Dan Ensch will circulate and come back out in 11th place. So unfortunately, that strategy not quite playing out for Ensch, as he's now sitting 14 seconds adrift of this field, or of the lead of this field. And I mean, don't blink, because very rapidly we are approaching halfway. This race is just absolutely flying by. And these two now duking it out for first. And this is kind of what we thought we would see through the last couple of seasons. But as I mentioned before, it's been Graham Bunyan who's been able to have that consistency at the front of the field and get those great finishes, where Jason Lowe has been fighting, just fighting so much. Not so much to be competitive, he's been able to do that, but it's just been staying consistent all race and not having something catch you out. Nevertheless, we got a tight battle here, and one thing is for certain, Bunyan is not going to be looking to give this position up at all. We'll see whether Lowe can take it as he goes by the low side. So Lowe to the low side, but he can't quite pull it off as that high side run. Just a little too much there for Lowe. They stay side by side down the start-finish straight and through one. Getting very close together there. Of course, you got to keep in mind, these two racing from opposite ends of the globe, two totally different continents separating these two in reality. But here on the track, they're racing wheel to wheel. And it's Lowe to the front. He'll get that credit for leading a lap. And now Graham Bunyan tucks in behind and goes very close. Was thinking he was going to try the old over-under, but Lowe didn't quite give him the availability to do that. Now Graham going to the high side, trying to get that run off the corner. Graham not quite able to get back in position to get that lead back from Jason Lowe. Now, this is the question, you know, do you want to stay behind Lowe and save maybe a little bit of fuel? Do you want to be up there in front in that clean air and able to dictate the front of the race? It's perhaps easier to steer the car out up there in the front. You don't have to deal with the aero push coming off of that car directly in front of you. So Bunyan floats again to the high side, not able to get it done here on lap 47. In the meantime, we take a look back at what's happened. Well, it's David Strigg kind of in no man's land, separated by about 3 seconds on either side from Graham Bunyan and Iñigo Mardones. And here's Mardones and Zaleski now back here in 4th place, battling it out. As I mentioned, Zaleski is a competitor every week. This track maybe not the type of track that Zaleski really excels at, but he did qualify quite well, and he's racing very well here today, potentially looking at a top 5. But Mardones, one of those drivers that, again, this wouldn't be the type of track that I would necessarily circle and say that's going to be his track, but he is also battling here for the top 5 position. And before too long, it might get a little bit spicier than that, able to get a little bit further up as these two continue to battle. So Mardones, our lone representative from the Necky Racing team. Of course, I got a chance to cover them quite a bit doing the iRacing NTT IndyCar Fixed Series broadcast this last season, which was a blast. Got to meet a lot of great competitors and cover a lot of great races. Really astounding stuff to do some top split broadcast coverage. And if you wanted to see any of last season's races, you can catch them right here on archive on VirtualRacing.Network. Not continuing that coverage this season due to other time commitments, but it was great to see the Necky Racing team is a 4 leader in that series. And Mardones doing his part here in the US IndyCar League to represent the team quite well. Zaleski falling off the back a little bit, but we'll see whether he can manage to get back up there and claim that position. In the meantime, Ryan Bowles was as high as 3rd not that long ago. He's actually claimed 2 spots today so far, but not as high up as he was before. So now running in 6th place. And here's our second in the points, as we covered before the race today. Howard Livingston racing for the Care Camps organization. Racing with those coconut castaways down there in Florida. Always trying to bring a spotlight and some good awareness of what the Care Camps organization is doing. And of course, you can see it right there. So we move to our close-up camera. You get a chance to see it there on the side pod. Dives down below Ryan Bowles, who now is beginning to fall back. Let's take a look at that. See the lap time history for Bowles starting to fall backwards at this point, losing close to 0.3 of a second that time by. Perhaps making contact. That is why our timing and scoring software not picking it up. But just behind this battle, here's Richard Kelbaugh, Mr. StickQuik. Still holding tough. He's lost 3 spots from where he qualified, but that doesn't really mean too much. It's all about where you're at the very end of this one. And speaking of that, it's a driver who started last. It's Mauro Ramirez. Great to have, as I mentioned, brand new driver in the field. Last week it was Jeff Profit. This week, getting Mauro Ramirez, and there's Bowles coming into the pits, I believe, slowing down quite considerably. So, yes, indeed, Bowles making a very early second pit stop. Not sure if this is a planned stop or not, but he will now go down a lap. So if it's not intentional, unfortunately, Bowles now falling out of contention for this race. But just behind where Richard Kelbaugh was, here's Mike West. And again, my fellow Northwest driver, along with Richard Kelbaugh, also part of our Northwest United States contingent. But my fellow Washingtonian here, Mike West, just from over on the other side of the hill. Hasn't been up in victory lane recently, but he did take a victory not that long ago. And perhaps West, the unofficial teammate, or actually, no, I take it back. He is the official teammate to Graham Bunyan. Perhaps he can get back up there and continue to find the front of this field and possibly continue his winning ways. We look for that each and every week. Always making note that he knows how to get it done, just not quite getting what he needs each week. But West, one of those drivers that is a regular and out here every week bringing his best, and certainly looking for more here today. And just behind him, Dan Ensch, racing with the ALZ.org and Drive SVR, Spark VR on the side. Have to get my sponsors straight. Of course, Dan, my teammate over at Last Lap Motorsports. We don't get to do nearly enough racing together anymore. It seemed like at one point we were racing in several series together, or at least a couple series together. But Dan repping the team here in the US IndyCar League for a number of seasons and doing a great job helping with the setup testing on Saturdays and helping to make sure that some of the machine is well oiled before we get rolling here on Sunday, and in the meantime getting the word out about that great organization, the Alzheimer's Association, and all that they do. So, but back up to the lead, just to take a look for a moment before we continue through the field. It's Jason Lowe who's staying ahead of Graham Bunyan, and in fact, you can see just ahead of them is Manuel Gomez Esteban. And Gomez Esteban has actually been racing very well as of late, going down a lap here, but again, that's not always, that doesn't always mean that you're out of contention for the race. In fact, you know, he's only dropped back to 11th now, so still a chance at getting up into that top 10. Just depends on how the rest of this race unfolds, but hanging on and trying to get a great finish here as now David Strid is on to pit lane. And we also have Will Stearns. I think Will Stearns just pitted and is just coming back out at the moment. So Lowe continuing here in the lead. And of course that will work out to his benefit because he'll also claim points for most laps led should he be able to accomplish that feat. I'm sure that is, those are some extra points that Graham Bunyan does not want to see Jason Lowe, who is only a couple positions back. I mean, he's only in 4th place in the championship. He was in 3rd just a race ago, but losing that position to David Strid. Nevertheless, Lowe has a chance at this championship. He's got to make his mark, and he's doing so today. Now kind of pulling out on Graham Bunyan, who's decided to now pull it into the pits and try and undercut, perhaps get some more speed and be able to overtake Jason Lowe through this round of pit stops. And they release the 101 car down and away off the jacks and back up to speed. We watch Graham retake his position on the track. Where will he come back out? And that is the question. Well, you can see a number of drivers now on pit road. So this would be Iñigo Mardones, who's now just entered the pits and is still shown in the lead of the race. Mike West making his way down. Dan Ensch now taking over the lead. Howard Livingston completing his pit stops. David Zaleski having finished his pit stops, he's resumed. Richard Kelbaugh finishing his, and Mauro Ramirez now heading back out, as well as Manuel Gomez Esteban now heading back out. Racing for Team Mazinger. It's Super Mango. That is a supermarket chain in España. So Gomez Esteban, you know, it was cool to see over in the Prime Meridian Racing League, Manuel Gomez Esteban joining for this season and having a great time over there as well. Both fantastic series here, the US IndyCar League and the Prime Meridian Racing League. Both of them free to enter. So one happening on Sundays and one happening on Wednesdays. Prime Meridian Racing League just finishing their season for season 2, and if you wanted to get involved with season 3, happens US time in the middle of the day on Wednesday, so if that's the time that you're around, feel free to give them a look. In the meantime, talk about excitement. Well, here's 3 very exciting drivers grouped together. Will Stearns, Graham Bunyan. These two have had some moments in the past, let's just put it that way, as Stearns trying to hold on here to that lead lap, but not quite able to. Jason Lowe has been overtaken with that round of pit stops. So Bunyan able to get it done that time, and that time by also, guess who the fastest car on track was? Yes, indeed. You see that purple on lap 72, Mr. Graham Bunyan with a 24:37. Fantastic time. Backing it up with another 24:37 that time. Almost exactly the same times there. So Graham, despite having to dodge some traffic, is actually setting a very, fast pace, and I think he's trying to apply a little bit of pressure to Jason Lowe, make him have to earn it, as Lowe now having to work around newcomer Ramirez in that number 66 car. And Ramirez seems to be doing a good job of keeping Lowe at bay and not able to get around. But Lowe is going to have to get around if he wants to be able to have a shot at this win, as it looks like Jason Lowe is now 0.6 of a second back from Graham Bunyan. And if you're looking there at the bottom of the screen, it's always a little confusing on how to read that, but basically what it's saying is each and every lap, the green times are showing to Graham Bunyan, which means that he's gaining on Jason Lowe that much each lap. So Bunyan just really setting this track on fire here in the Bluegrass State, claiming fastest lap. Now that's an extra point as well, and I don't know, I mean, we'll get another pit stop, but I don't know if Jason Lowe has it in him to pull out an even faster lap than what Graham has set. But nevertheless, Lowe trying to stay within that draft range and not fall too far back. Now drifting, coming up on almost 0.9 of a second adrift of Graham Bunyan, your leader. Go back to the wider picture here. Jason Lowe just in front of, well, I say just in front. He's actually now 5.8 seconds ahead of David Strid. And Strid right now is, well, you know, Strid would like to be up there in the front with his good buddy Graham Bunyan and racing with Jason Lowe. But I gotta say, as a driver who's done a few IndyCar races in the past, it seems like it's getting further and further away. Maybe someday I'll get to run again. But anyway, you know, you're running in third position sometimes, and you're saying, well, I got a 6-second gap in front of me, and I've got a 4.5-second gap behind me. I mean, that's pretty nice. It's real cushy out here. I got a big cushion. I could, you know, I just kind of kick back, turn up your tunes, and you know, have your favorite beverage in your hand and just cruise around to a nice third place. I'm sure it'll be just that easy as we finish this one up. We are already well over 2/3 of the way through this one, working on lap 82 of 127. That's how fast it has gone by. We appreciate you sticking with us despite the different schedule today. We'll try to figure out what happened there, but things getting going about 10 minutes later than normal. So we look back up at the front, and guess who's closed up on who? It's a guessing game. Jason Lowe has closed up on Graham Bunyan. He's right up on the back of him now. So Lowe able to dial it up, but Bunyan running Lowe up towards the wall. And right now, Lowe is looking at the backside of Mike West, who is Graham Bunyan's teammate. And, well, if it's not David Strid that Lowe has to go through to get to Bunyan, it's going to be Mike West. So Mike West, a lap down here, has every right to try to hang on, but West at this moment trying to make it difficult for Lowe to attack West's teammate Graham Bunyan in the front. So playing that kind of wingman scenario, tail gunner scenario, trying to do a good job and keep Lowe at bay, but easier said than done when you've got somebody like Jason Lowe with the amount of experience that he has. Tell you what, lesser competitors might get a little scared off, might get a little irritated, but not somebody like Jason Lowe. He's probably sitting there licking his chops saying, I can figure out how to make this work. Seen this one before a time or two. And that's always what's so exciting about tuning in here for the US IndyCar League broadcast. You've got some really skilled competitors. We've been clean all the way through. No yellow flags thus far. Now that I've said that, I've initiated the commentator's curse, but we'll see whether it happens. In the meantime, West and Bunyan going side by side. Now, this is not what Bunyan would really want to see out of his teammate, more than likely, although West is keeping that lane filled and causing some disturbance of air towards Lowe. I think finally Lowe is going to be able to work on as I try to make predictions, and there goes West right around. And now Bunyan retakes that spot. So will West get his lap back? No, it's Lowe who now manages to slice and dice his way up into the lead. He cuts around Mike West and dives to the low side on Bunyan. He's going to get credit for leading that lap, but will he stay in the lead as Bunyan stays on the high side? We're side by side here on lap 90. Hope you are out there enjoying this one. Say hello if you're over in YouTube chat. And Julian Altena dropping in, of course, Velocity Online Racing's Julian Altena, and now I think doing the Prime Meridian Racing League broadcast coverage himself. Great racer in IndyCar in his own right. Very talented young man, stopping into our YouTube chat room, saying hello and saying that I think you want to stay low in front of Jason Lowe. And I couldn't tell you because the high side's been working too well. I guess it just depends on the lap and depends on how the car is working. But you do need, the general consensus is, as you see Jason Lowe continuing here in the lead and Graham Bunyan just on the outside, general consensus really has been that the IRL line and sticking to that white line down on the bottom as Lowe kind of moves up the track and gives Graham Bunyan the low line. That low line right on that bottom is right on the bottom of the track, right along that line all the way around. That's always going to be the fastest way around. I mean, it makes sense. It's the shortest distance around the oval. And as long as you can hang on that line, in general, nobody can really pass you because they got to go around the outside, and it's just too difficult. But we did see Lowe able to carry some really great speed off of these corners on the high side, and certainly good enough to potentially take the win if you can get the right kind of run off of the last corner. So, I don't know. It's always tricky to figure out what's the right way to go. Do you go to the low side? You go to the high side, try to take the run off the corner, try to use lap traffic as a pick. That's always a potential. So we will see here as we're rapidly approaching the century mark on laps, and be looking down the end of this one. We're just expecting everybody in for one more stop here at the end. We have lost Will Stearns and Ryan Bowles out of this race. Now we're seeing David Zaleski making the very first of the final pit stops for these leaders. Now this is a bit of a gamble here, but it's only going to be 31 laps that he'll need to make it to the end of this. So, or 30 laps, I guess, by the time he finishes this lap. So he should be able to make it. Jason Lowe taking advantage as well, trying to undercut Graham Bunyan perhaps. However, as we also see David Strid on pit lane. Try to get the correct camera for you there. Still can't see him, but there's David Strid finally hitting his pit box. And Jason Lowe just in front. And there Lowe gets underway again. Driving straight through that pace car, which he's allowed to do because iRacing. It's can't make contact with it, which is always fun to do in a race where you just drive straight through the pace car. Always freaks out some of the rookies. when you do that kind of thing. Here's Bunyan into the pits. And this just tells you, I'm not going to belabor it. It's kind of a secret, but there are things you can do even in the pits while you're going down pit lane to try to gain a little bit of speed, and Graham Bunyan even employing those tricks as well. So Bunyan pitting here, high on the revs, gets a big tail slide as he heads out of his pit box and back up to speed very quickly. In the meantime, it is Iñigo Mardones who continues and is in the lead here. And since we've hit lap 100 and we have not yet gone yellow, well, we're just going to go ahead and get in a little bit of the things that pay the bills around here. And speaking of paying the bills, you know, speaking of being money in the bank, this thing right here, StickQuik.com and the StickQuik, have you heard about it? If not, it's the newest, coolest thing that you haven't yet added to your arsenal of tools and different organization devices at home. Look at what it does. These are little silicone rings that have a magnet on one side of them. It's heavy-duty silicone, you know, weather and chemical resistant, all that. Great for your tools, great for working around cars, but also great for the home, and just great for any sort of tools or utensils, devices, things that you use in the kitchen, spatulas, mixers, pens you want to put up on the wall. You want to put your keys next to your door so you don't forget them every day. This is a cool thing to do that with, because not only does it come with the little ring with the magnet, but it comes with the other side too, which has a little metal strip that you can stick anywhere. So literally you can stick anything to anything, and that's the beauty of StickQuik. You can see so much more on their website. They've actually been updating it recently, so you can see some really cool use cases and how you can use it, get some ideas. And maybe a little too late for the holidays this season, but a fantastic gift to give to anybody and a great way to start the new year. So start the new year right, get your life organized, get all of everything else that you can under control. But I tell you what, you start popping out some of these StickQuiks, your friends and your family are going to ask questions like, where do I get those cool things, make my life better? You know, another cool thing I haven't seen talked about too much, if you're working in an office and you got stuff to like hang up around your cubicle or around your desk or in the office, what another cool thing. Keep things handy, keep keys handy, keep your pens and all of those other things that you need while you're working close to you. Head over to StickQuik.com, pick up yours today if you haven't already. Pick up several and tell them that the US IndyCar League sent you, and they will thank you, and we thank you as well. And we, of course, thank StickQuik for being the presenting sponsor each and every week here on VirtualRacing.Network, and a great friend to the US IndyCar League for sure. And speaking of StickQuik, here's Mr. StickQuik. He's continuing his great racing ways. He's currently running in 6th place. So we go back to the live picture. Get that hideous ticker off of the screen. There we go. Mr. StickQuik, Richard Kelbaugh. Great to have him back out there. He was quite sick this last season, but has been recovering, and it's just always awesome to have him out there racing with us. And you know, again, just really fantastic that he's managed to be able to climb up in the standings. At the same time, he's racing with the green color. Of course, my name is Greenfield. That's coincidental, but I also race with green. And they say green is unlucky, but I totally disagree. And I just love, it's so bright and colorful and cheerful, and you can certainly spot them a mile away. But that's kind of the StickQuik in a nutshell. Brilliant little device, and you can it certainly stands out anytime you're looking. You're like, hey, what's that thing? How do I get one of those? Anyway, for the sponsorship wagon, we're under 20 laps to go, and there at the front is Jason Lowe. And indeed, if we go back to the onboard camera, that's how much work he has to do to re-catch the leader, Graham Bunyan, who has for sure dropped the proverbial hammer and trying to set sail. As you see him kind of weaving here, Graham Bunyan is trying to shake that toe, that draft, that slipstream, which is the ticket for Lowe to be able to catch back up to Bunyan. Will he be able to do it? Keep a very sharp eye out on that timing tower on the left-hand side. You can see the gap starting to shorten just a little bit, down to just 0.5 of a second. And it'll continue to ebb and flow as the laps go on, but will it be Lowe who manages to climb up and overtake Bunyan with just 16 laps to go? Or will it be Bunyan who takes yet another victory on his way to trying to earn a third straight championship and tie that mark of Jason Lowe here in the US IndyCar League? We will find out as Bunyan goes to the high side and seemingly slows just a little bit. It's down to 0.5 of a second. And again, one of those things that you've got to be aware of if you're somebody like Jason Lowe or Graham Bunyan. We're now down to 0.3 of a second. You can't go too high up on your adjustment tools in the cockpit. You've got this weight jacker that makes the car turn better, but for how long until you start burning that right rear tire off? As you see these fans on their feet here at the sold-out Kentucky Speedway under the lights, and it's Jason Lowe who makes the move to the inside on the backstretch, racing side by side with champion Graham Bunyan, who goes very high. I don't know if he got up into the wall, but he got so high off of turn 3 and 4. This camera certainly making it somewhat look like he did get up into that wall. Who will it be as we get down close to 10 to go? And this is now your battle for the win. Graham Bunyan and Jason Lowe, two champions of the US IndyCar League. Will we see one or the other, or will they take each other out? We'll have a spectacular, fiery finish to this one. Well, anything is possible. More than likely with these two competitors, though, it'll be nice and clean. And we will find out momentarily. In the meantime, behind it's David Strid, who once again is in no man's land, trying to just cruise around and capture that bronze medal for getting third. Iñigo Mardones up into 4th place. He started 3 positions further back from that. Like I said, he's been battling with David Zaleski, but managed. Mardones has, I think, to finally shake Zaleski, but still Zaleski just 0.7 of a second back, so that one's not done yet. But Mardones potentially looking at a top 5, and here's Kelbaugh. Again, you know, this track is not the easiest. This is not Daytona. This is not Talladega where you just flat out the whole way through and there's not a lot of skill involved. Kelbaugh really showing some skill here at Kentucky, finding the right line to stay in contention and staying on the lead lap, and that is what is key. Mike West actually up 5 positions from where he started back in 12th. He didn't take a qualifying time. Having a decent race today, but you know he's capable of more. And here's Dan Ensch, who has settled back into 8th place. He's gained a spot, but that fuel conserve strat just still not quite panning out for him here today. He's able to go the longest of any of these drivers, but not able to overtake enough cars to get up there into the top 5 so far. Here's Mauro Ramirez, who's, I mean, you'd have to say he's having a good debut. He's up 4 spots from where he started in 9th place here at the moment. And the number 66 looking to take Dan Ensch. And that's no small feat because, again, Dan extremely experienced in Indy cars on iRacing, been doing it for a lot of years now. And he certainly knows how to be as competitive as anyone else, like the leaders Graham Bunyan and Jason Lowe are for sure. But he's making his car very wide there, and now you can see this lead has actually fallen back to about a full second. And we'll take a look back from machine of Graham Bunyan back at Jason Lowe. Lowe just not quite able to keep up there on this final stint. And I think he gave it his all, but again, there's only so much you can do with these adjustments. And Graham Bunyan also so experienced and just so skilled at being able to adjust these cars in traffic and throughout the race. It's that's why Lowe has not won the last two championships. You know, in some ways, Lowe has been more competitive than even the seasons when he won the championships. But with 4 laps to go here, you can see that's all that separates him from the win. And Graham Bunyan, just the class of the field here yet again. Even the great David Strid, 5 seconds adrift off of this battle here for first. And as I mentioned, it just lets you know that Lowe is not out there dawdling around. He's in great competitive form here, but it's Graham Bunyan, your Australian champion, who just continues to absolutely show each and every week that he is not just competitive, not just a race winner, but a season champion, and a great one at that, and able to keep competitive even when challenged, even when raced hard, side by side, for long periods of time. Just 2 laps remaining from Graham Bunyan potentially taking his second victory here today. We see this race actually going on here, though, for 6th place. This is Richard Kelbaugh trying to stay ahead of Mike West. Kelbaugh, again, really trying to fight for that position in the championship as West goes very high. Voice goes up into my throat. We are white flag for Graham Bunyan. We go back to that leader. There he is. Just another corner to go to claim this victory. It's been a hard fought one. He's had numerous challenges. It was not easy, but he'll take the win here at Kentucky. Your winner, Graham Bunyan, and Jason Lowe will take second, excuse me. David Strid bringing it home third for their team, Graham Bunyan and David Strid's team. And just as we mentioned, Iñigo Mardones just missing the podium, though. About 6 seconds back from David Strid, but getting a great 4th place finish, another top 5 for him, and David Zaleski also getting a top 5 as the fireworks now going off here in Kentucky. So exciting stuff as we continue to watch these fireworks going off in the background. And from Graham Bunyan's point of view, I think we're just about to see let's get some things turned around there in the cockpit. It's like he's adjusting some things and perhaps getting ready to do some of them donuts that are so famous. Now we got Jason Lowe out there, David Strid. Well, David Strid ain't waiting around. He's getting this party started. So we get some smoke flying on the back ends of these Dallara IR18 cars. And Bunyan looks for a little bit of clean space to go do his own. So we'll take a look at the final results. And there you go. As we mentioned, it is, of course, Graham Bunyan, your winner. And Jason Lowe taking a stout second. No mistakes today from Lowe. Maybe not quite the pace to be able to overtake Graham Bunyan and be able to get up there into victory circle, but he did get quite close. I'll now look to see who we can possibly snag into our commentary booth. For some post-race interviews, so stay tuned for that as we await some of these drivers to finish doing their podiums here, or their donuts here on the track. So let's go ahead and see if we can grab, well, we'll grab our second in the points, Howard Livingston, if he's available. Hey, Howard, are you available?
Sure thing.
And by that I mean, are you are you on the mic? Of course you're not available. You're a happily married man. Anyway, anyway, Howard, great to have you here. Hey, bud, you came in second place in the points. You had a pretty good race today, but unfortunately ended up all the way back in 10th. So walk us and your fans through what happened today for your race.
Yeah, and again, congrats to Graham on a great win. We were doing okay up until the last pit stop, and unfortunately, I drifted coming out of the pits and went across the yellow line and had to come back in and do a stop and go. So that took me out of it.
Oh, I see. So one of those little mistakes being a big, yeah, I couldn't quite see what had cost you that extra time to put you back there in 10th, but just one of those little mistakes. And again, with how clean this league is, you don't get a chance to catch back up with a caution. So you got to avoid those little mistakes. Still, says a lot about how competitive you have to be in order to even do well here in the US IndyCar League.
Yeah, these guys are such great competitive drivers. Yeah, if you pretty much you screw up one little thing and you're at the back of the pack and you're not going to make it up because yellows are a scarcity in this league.
Definite scarcity. Didn't get a single one today. Didn't have one last week, but nevertheless, Howard, looking good for the future. You won't lose too many points with that result today. Kind of regroup, headed forward to next week, and of course, we've got the Care Camps Indy at the end. Any shout outs to do before we move on today?
Sure. Big shout out to StickQuik, for sponsoring our races. And the care camps, kids at care camps, and all the folks that support them. And thanks everybody. And Trevor, thanks for just an incredible professional broadcast. You always do.
Oh, well, thank you for saying so. I appreciate it. And obviously, thanks to you for showing up each and every week and putting on an awesome show with the rest of these competitors. But it's certainly saying something that we go this long and you're that competitive, and one mistake like that going to take you out of contention. I'm looking forward to the rest of this season and seeing if you can get back up there and stay up there in the points in second place and maybe get a victory for Care Camps. So good luck for the end of your season, Howard.
Thanks so much. And we look forward to next week's race. Try not to screw up on that one.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your week, bud, down there in Florida. I envy your weather. We're supposed to possibly get snow for Christmas. So enjoy your margaritas down there, man.
We sure will. And have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you as well. So thanks to Howard Livingston joining us there off the track in 10th place, not where we're used to seeing Howard finishing. And as I mentioned, boy, it just suddenly got real competitive in the league where you make one mistake like that, no cautions to catch up, and you're going to see the points tumble a little bit. Nevertheless, catch up next week. I'm sure we'll see Howard back at the front. In the meantime, let's see if we can snag somebody else in here to talk to us. Let's see if we can grab... I guess we will talk to Jason Lowe since he finished second. And Mr. Lowe, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear, Trevor.
Okay, excellent. And so, Jason, this was a heck of a race today. So exciting for us to watch. You were right up there. You took the lead. I mean, just absolutely asserted yourself, took the lead from Graham Bunyan. You were up there mixing it up, and then it looked like you kept everything clean. And then on that final stint, you just couldn't quite muster enough for Graham Bunyan. But take us through that whole race and tell us how it unfolded for you.
I was happy to qualify on the outside pole. I was off Graham by a couple thousandths, which when you're anywhere near him for qualifying, you have to feel good about it. It was a tough race. It was a tricky setup and kind of a weird track. It was a little bit cooler than we practiced, which to me made the cars have a little bit more rear grip than we wanted, so they were a little bit tight. And I gave Graham everything I had. In clean air, he was just better, and he was also better at keeping the air behind him dirty than I was. He's a master. I mean, he's a great racer, and he's smart. He's smart. I kind of wish we would have caught the lap traffic there at the end a couple laps sooner, because that was my only hope, was he start getting some aero influence the way he was influencing me. Just not enough. Probably wasn't going to help me anyway. But that was the only hope I had. But to be able to run at his pace, or quite near his pace, makes me real happy. I gave it everything I had. I wasn't holding anything back. I wasn't definitely going to cause any contact, but I gave him everything I had. He was just a better driver today.
Well, I know that he certainly appreciates anytime anybody brings all they got, and certainly with the competitiveness that you've shown, and 3 times champion, Jason, you've obviously taken quite a few victories here in the series, but today I think you definitely showed that, well, you didn't make the same mistake that Howard made with the penalty, and you kept it clean. As you said, you could have made it even closer, but giving a little bit of extra room, obviously allowing for physical proximity distances and netcode and this and that. But also you gave it your all, and I think you look like you're right back on pace with where you're at. Kentucky is not an easy track, and so it's great to see. Anybody I think who excels here really shows their overall pace, and you got to be feeling really good about the end of your season now.
Well, I enjoyed every week. We had a new member this week, Mauro Ramirez, MJ. Welcome him aboard. He did a fine job. It was really weird here, because you feel like the pit speed limit is 45 miles an hour, and you just feel like you're coming to a crawl to get into the pits. And I was really surprised every pit cycle that Graham didn't put more distance on me, because he's excellent at getting both in and out of the pits. And I felt like I wasn't getting in the pits nearly as hot as I could, but I didn't want to shoot myself in the foot again, because I'm running out of feet.
Well, but so, you actually gained on him, I think, after the first and second pit cycles. You actually gained, or maybe it was just the second pit cycle, but you actually caught back up to the back of him after that pit cycle somehow.
Yeah, well, I short pitted one cycle and had a few extra gallons of gas, and that saved me some time in the pits. So it probably made it appear like I gained on him, but I don't think going in or out of the pits I made any actual time on him. I mean, that would be a rarity, and I would be extremely proud, but I was being pretty conservative. So he made a mention on the pace lap that I hope everyone had practiced their pit entries, because this place is not easy, just because you have to get down so slow. And I don't know, happy day. Thanks to StickQuik. Congratulations to David Stritt on a fine 3rd place, and congratulations to our winner, Graham Bunyan.
Absolutely. And for those of the folks that are out there listening and part of the iRacing community, and maybe they've done a couple of IndyCar races thus far, they want to get involved, best way to get involved with US IndyCar League, just go over to the league function and look up US IndyCar League, right?
Yeah, you can get us. We're on Facebook, because we're part of the Evil Empire, and you can get us on iRacing. I mean, we do have some minimum standards to meet. If you're, a D-class license and you've got a poor safety rating, we're not going to let you in. I have had to turn some people down recently, but if you've done a few Indy races and if you feel like you have a shot and your stats don't suggest that, send me a private message. I mean, give me a heads up and we'll give you an audition. We want more people. But the guys that race here every week, I mean, what a good bunch of people, what a good bunch of racers, another caution-free race. And once again, thanks to StickQuik for making it happen.
Absolutely. Great to have you, Jason Lowe. Great competitor, former series champion, and well, you're keeping your name in the hat to see if maybe you can get right back up there again this season. It's going to be tough getting through that guy, Graham Bunyan, but good luck with the rest of the season. We're anxious to see how it plays out.
Hey, we're going to race him hard every week and see how the chips fall.
And there you go. You better believe it. He will bring his A game every week. Jason Lowe joining us from 2nd place here in Kentucky. And the only guy that he couldn't beat out there, he tried multiple times. You saw it here live many, many times. He tried to take that position. In fact, he took the position, but at the end, there was one guy who just had way too much speed for him. And that, of course, was the guy that we talk about pretty much every week. It was Graham Bunyan, and Graham here, after doing some donuts and getting nice and cleaned off from spraying champagne. Hey, Graham, can you hear me?
Wow, what a race. You wanted this show and you got it.
Well, I appreciate you guys making it a show for us. I know it's anytime somebody comes up and gives you a little bit of a challenge there for first, it kind of makes you sweat a little bit, and you get more invigorated. You're like, all right, finally I've got a challenge to work with. But how tough was it out there battling with Jason Lowe? And I mean, the fact that you guys were able to even climb 5 seconds out on David Stritt, I think really talks about the type of race and the type of pace that you were setting. So talk all the fans through your race, starting from the pole, but it certainly was not an easy victory.
Yeah, well, look, it all started before the pole for me. I practicing those pit-ins. I cooked every single one of them except one. So like Jason said, on the warm-up lap going out, I just said to everybody, I hope they all practiced their pit stops. And then David Stritt had said, even if you did practice, good luck. It's a tricky pit-in, but I put caution out there, and I just wanted to come in cautiously. I knew I had track speed, but I didn't want to speed in the pits. I knew that would have done the race for me. So I was watching Jason come along, and then he had that stellar pit stop on the first one there, and I actually came out beside. Well, he actually came out beside me there, right at the exit of turn 2. He had the pace there, and he stepped up to the race. So kudos to Jason, man. Great race. He come from nowhere.
And he did come from essentially, I mean, he, Jason started there second, but I think it's pretty intense to see how much he was able to challenge you through this race. It seemed like every answer that you had to try to keep him at bay, he seemed to have another answer to close up, and certainly traffic playing a role here. Jason saying that he was hoping for a little bit more traffic at the end so that perhaps you could be held up a little bit. He could catch you up again. But talk us through a little bit what goes in the decision making of taking the high line versus taking the low line. Is there a particular strategy that works better for defending against somebody in second place, trying to make a charge on you? Do you like to be on that low line? Do you like to try to cover the high line? What goes into that decision making strategy?
It's a tough one because I'm not a mirror driver. I don't like to drive with my mirrors, but with this track here, you have to pretty well much drive with your mirror to see where he's going to make his entry into the turn. And you've got to sort of make that attempt as though you're going to move down to make him move down. So then you do move down. So you got to, coach him down there a bit to give him that aero push to push him back out. But with this track and the way the aero works, you've either got to dive in before him and feed him out to the wall, or you got to just turn later and still feed him out to the wall, which is what the main aim is at the front there. It's just all about aero push.
Well, we enjoyed watching that battle there, but of course that is the battle really going on amongst you two, just dealing with that aero push. And how difficult is that to deal with? I mean, for those who don't actually drive these Indy cars on iRacing and are just watching, what is it like to encounter that aero push, and what do you have to do as a driver to overcome that?
It's like driving down the road at 100 kilometers an hour and throwing a parachute out the right-hand side window or the left-hand side window. It just pushes you right out towards the wall. It's and you've got to lift, and a lot of people don't lift. They think, oh, I've got to plant my foot harder and steer harder, and then they go into the wall. But aero push is terrible in these cars. It always has been. The DW12 is a lot worse. Yeah, aero push is it's a thing to deal with. You got to have it. You got to have a knack to work through it.
And that's it, is really developing those fine skills. It's not just pushing your foot to the floor on the right pedal and steering to the left. There's so many different tricks to getting it right and keeping your position, and that just tells you so much. When it went green flag this whole race, David Stritt, who we know his speed is incredible and his car control, his ability to adjust is amazing, he dropped 5 seconds adrift of you two, who managed to hang on there and make it a great race for first. So That type of competitiveness and pulling out all those stops. I mean, even seeing you employing some extra tricks on pit road to try to get some extra speed on Jason Lowe. I mean, Graham, you're not leaving anything on the table here in any of these races.
No. I'm putting it all out there, and I mean, like you said before, I love the competition, and if I'm going to get pushed hard, I'll fight back a bit harder until the point where I can't fight back. And Jason made me step up another level today. I was screaming at myself and screaming at everybody else, going, "Where is he coming from?" You know, and it's like, but no, he made me step up another level, and I like that. That's what I like. And yeah, Dave just. I didn't even know how far back I was from Dave. Dave was saying we're miles away, and it's like I didn't even look because I was too focused on Jason.
And yet you did get a little bit of help from your fellow teammate Mike West, who was trying to get his lap back, but kind of mixing it up and keeping Jason at bay for a little bit. But even that wasn't enough to keep him. I'll tell you what, it looks to me like you got to keep your eye on that 004, because if that guy can really continue these types of races going forward, you might still have a great challenger besides David Strid for this championship, as well as Howard Livingston. Always great to race with a couple of championships, a couple of champions at your level battling it out. And again, it's only a matter of time before perhaps one of those two can make a serious run at this championship. Nevertheless, Graham, you're taking victory here again this week. You got to feel great about potentially the end of this season and holding on to that series crown.
Yeah, it started out good. I have had a great run, and look, tonight could have been the end of it. Again, you know, it was just about stepping up that extra level and just stopping to think on what I really had to do to get away from Jason. And if that was to use the traffic to my advantage, then that's what I had to do. You know, it's once I got that distance and be able to get my speed and my line where I want to be, I had the pace to get away. So, but it was good.
Well, that is fantastic, and great to have you joining us here, Graham, and absolutely fantastic job here today. And certainly just proving once again, you got to be operating on all cylinders to be able to take victory here in the US IndyCar League. You just don't know where that challenge is going to come from. Will it be somebody coming out of nowhere like Ryan Bowles or James Kennedy or David Zaleski? Will it be defending one of the previous champions, Jason Lowe, fellow countryman David Strid? You don't know. You gotta stay on top of your game. And Graham Bunyan, you're doing that every week. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing what else you can do with the end of this season and continue your winning ways. Great job, Graham.
Yeah, no worries at all. Look, hey, don't count anybody out. Anybody can do it. That's for sure. They could come from anywhere. So, you know, and again, you know, congrats to the podium and to the top 5. And Richard just missed out on the top 5 by 1, but hey, StickQuik and Mr. StickQuik there, you know, they do it week in, week out. And I kudos to everybody who turns up week in and week out.
You bet. And well, always great to see those regulars getting good finishes. We'll look forward to hopefully getting a chance to have Mr. Kelbaugh here joining us shortly. But thanks again, Graham, and we'll look forward to seeing you here the rest of this season. Good luck, bud.
No worries. Thank you, and thanks for the job you do.
Absolutely. My pleasure. So that's Graham Bunyan joining us there from first place here in Kentucky, the Bluegrass State, taking victory here for Kentucky 190, presented by StickQuik. As always, great to have StickQuik on board as the presenting sponsor. And if you'd like to get involved with the US IndyCar League, as I mentioned, it's as simple as clicking on that link down in the description of the video. You too can sign up for the US IndyCar League, get out there on the track and race around with these guys. Good luck. Good luck. But anyway, also open to business inquiries as well. Feel free to send Jason Lowe a note if you have any questions. In the meantime, feel free to like and subscribe. Like the video and subscribe to VirtualRacing.Network for all of the Sunday great coverage, great coverage, I hope, but races for the US IndyCar League. And we'll look forward to seeing you each and every Sunday coming up going forward. And of course, in the meantime, we wish all of you watching very happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus for the rest of us, and all the other good jazz, and an early Happy New Year. Of course, we'll see you just before that. So in the meantime, my name's Trevor Greenfield. You've been watching VirtualRacing.Network, and so great to have you with us. See you next Sunday right here on the same channel. In the meantime, have a great rest of your week. Till then, bye-bye, everybody.